Hey, how's everybody doing?
Fantastic. Excited for our panel tonight to have an amazing chat. We're going to give away some prizes. We're going to learn cool stuff. It's going to be fabulous. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. I know we're just chilling right now, so I just wanted to chat while we're chilling before we get all
Yeah, of
formal.
course. Like chill and chat. So typically we have like in this opening, we typically have music. And what's interesting is that there's two of us that do the music and we're both together in a hotel room. I mean, that sounded really nefarious. There's other people here as well. However, we don't have access to music. So I appreciate you jumping in to chitter chatter because it's like otherwise it's like super awkward. But the music usually works out well.
Oh yeah, I know that deal. Hosting quite a bit of spaces myself, so don't mind the early banter in replacement of music. But yeah, where are you folks at that hotel? Are you guys in LA? Are you East Coast?
We are a little bit north of LA, but yeah, general vicinity.
Awesome. Anything
And
in particular, like an
well,
event or something that you're
no, no,
attending?
no. I live here, and then Garrett traveled in from Northern California for work, and then my corporate office is located here. So there's a couple other people from the company here.
Very nice, very nice. So you folks, I mean, for you might have some listeners that kind of know you guys, but for our ears, if you could tell us a little bit about ISA, that would be cool.
Hell yeah, we totally will. And I'm happy to tell you a little bit now. And when we kick off, we'll tell you a little bit more. But you know what? Since we don't have everybody in here yet, I'm going to use this as a training opportunity. How do you guys feel about that? Okay, Craig, I just looked and I was looking at your some of your roles and skills, and I think you are ready to go ahead and introduce to this group who is ISA and what do we do.
Well,
If you mess it up, you don't get a paycheck. No, I'm just kidding.
so with all this said, I am a little newer to ISA, but I've been having a blast working with this. So ISA is a marketing research firm. We help various companies go to market, and not too long ago, we started a Web3 division, of which is one of my biggest focus within the company. Um, I work with a couple other great people. I love the culture. I love the vibe that Jack sets for everybody. Um, and we've worked with literally some of the top companies in the world to help them go to market with various projects they might be doing, and some of them we've helped to guide them with their various Web3 strategies.
Thank you, Craig. Everything you said is actually very true. And if I may add, so that we are 40, like we've been in the space for 40 years. We are experts in understanding consumer behavior and adoption of new products, services, capabilities, as well as just behaviors in general. And we specialize in disruptive and emerging markets and have for the past 4 decades. And so when you think of blockchain technology, and a disruption now that is going to impact, like typically we work with disruption even within categories or within segments of categories, and now we're talking about a technology that's going to interrupt and disrupt, if you will, the world across all types of spaces, whether it's technology or media or consumer interaction or branding or marketing or music or production, and really in a time that few of us will ever get a chance to even live through. Never mind, well, I'm old, so I'll get to live through it twice. But something that actually changes the way that we live, such as the internet, like for right now. So the background and really understanding how consumers understand how their perceptions then drive their behavior, how they then adopt is like basically what we do. And now, of course, with what's happening, it's been excellent because in addition to being experts in, research and consumer behavior, as we all know, if you're here in this space, in order to like excel, you have to have deep, deep knowledge. So it's been very fun as a really large organization to bring on like category experts versus folks that have skill set necessarily in what we actually do. And it's been really successful.
No, that's awesome. I think you brought us on for the right reasons because we are disruptors in a way, in particular with entertainment and consumption of entertainment and ownership of creativity. So this is really exciting. And thanks for having us. I see Anthony just hopped into the space. So I'll let you guys kind of take over from here. But thanks for just briefing us on your backgrounds of ISA.
Yeah, you bet, you bet. And we are coming up on about seven past the hour, and I like to get started. And in order to do so, if everybody would go ahead and share the room and let people know we're here in the space, we'll be here for the next 90 minutes. Of course, we do have additional like giveaways, and we're going to have lots of fun chatter. So if we could take a minute and share the room, that would help people wander on in. And then, if there are any additional speakers that I have not brought up, please make sure you raise your hand or ask to speak, and I will bring you up on stage. And we are going to kick off in like 30 seconds. Okay, awesome. So I do want to let folks like down in the audience also know that we will be doing some giveaways tonight. And for those of you who are taking the time to share your projects and expertise and collaborate with us in the industry, our marketing folks are down there and they are going to be listening and pulling some quotes and making some digital content for you to use on your social media. So as we get kicked off, I think what would be helpful if you guys are all cool with it is I'd love for you guys to each kind of like introduce yourselves, how you got to this space, because you all had a life before here. And then let's start there. Let's just talk about who you are, how you got to this space, and then we'll kind of dive into individual like projects and whatnot from there. Does that sound good? Cool, cool. So you guys can either feel free up there on stage to unmute and jump in, or I can call on you. But I think you guys can just like go for it. Do it. Don't make me call on you in the back taking a nap. My
I'll
class.
I'll go first while my reception is still decent. What's up, everybody? I'm Cass Vegas. I'm an NFT community builder. I love building communities around art, DeFi, everything kind of NFTs, strategizing from all your favorite projects to specifically leading the front with Huxley and things with Feature. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and I will pass the mic.
And so, Cass, what's interesting is that you and I met in person in Los Angeles at Commonplace Brewery somewhere. Anyway,
Mhm.
but like a little over a year ago. And so it's so fun to see like all of the expansion and influence and how it all connects back together. So awesome. Who's next?
Yeah, that was really nice meeting you. Yeah. I'll pass it to Steven. You want to go?
Hey everybody, my name is Stephen Luce. I'm co-founder and CEO of The Feature. Excited to be here. I come from 20 plus years of entertainment. I've worked with Stan Lee, Kanye West, David Fincher, really pioneered a lot of virtual production and visual effects technologies. An exciting time for us as we have just officially launched the world's first blockchain-enabled streaming device.
Awesome. I'm definitely excited to jump into that for sure.
Um, my name is Are you done, Steven? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I figured we'd have a lot of time to talk.
Okay. My name is Anthony Francisco, and I was a senior visual development artist at Marvel Studios for like 9 years. And my claim to fame is I designed Baby Groot for Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as actually all the Baby Groots from the pot all the way to the, adult Groot. And other things I've designed, the Dora Milaje for Black Panther, and that was before Ruth Carter was hired for to be the costume designer, and I got that approved. And I kind of want to say that because some people don't even know the behind the scenes people. So the Marvel Studios visual development is who I worked for a while, and then I left recently because I finally am able to design my own show, and here I am, sharing it with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'll be so excited for an update. So, I actually had joined a Twitter space that I think the Derby one was hosting.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
Also around maybe like a year and a half ago. And got to hear sort of like part of that early transition. So I'll be excited to have an update from there. Woohoo! Dan, you want to tell us who you are? Where do you come from?
Hey, everybody. So I'm Dan Sackheim, and I come out of the, I guess you'd call it the dinosaur world of, traditional film and television. I've been a director and a producer for the past 20 plus years. I've worked most recently in the premium space, HBO, Hulu, Netflix, FX, Amazon, that kind of thing. I started a company of my own a few years back called Bedrock Entertainment, where we are been focused on creating premium tentpole television that sort of exists more in the global space, sort of the intersect of cultures, to try to appeal to what is currently the largest growing portion of the uh, streaming world, and also involved in, and I think that's what brings me to this space, is this recent project that I've been working on with actually a few people in this room. That is a Web3 AR project, and it's both storytelling and gamification. And I'm been drawn to this idea of better storytelling in games, and also exploring the possibility of how using Web3 NFTs that myself and people who come out of the traditional world like I do can actually take a greater measure of control and ownership over their product, over their over the art that they want to create, and be less beholden to these, kind of walled gardens that exist right now that are sort of gobbling up everything out there. It's a chance to sort of pioneer a new path. So that's my long and probably somewhat convoluted spiel.
Love it. And I know that you had joined us previously, Dan, and I'm so excited to have you back. Thank you for coming. You got an emergency call, as we do in the entertainment industry. Much respected. So thanks for coming back and sharing with us.
Thanks for inviting me back, Jacqueline.
Yeah, of course. You absolutely. And we also have Lillian. Lillian, would you like to take a minute and introduce yourself and who you are and where you came from?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lillian Miller. I'm a designer at ISA, and I create most of the visual assets for the company. My work is heavily in UI design, but I also work with UX in bigger projects along with my team. But prior to ISA, I had the opportunity to work in multiple companies and projects, most related to front end and marketing. But I also work in the game industry. I was a co-owner of a startup company, and along with my friends, we successfully transformed projects into companies. But parallel to design, I'm also an illustrator, a computer technician, and I've been playing around with full stack development for a long time. But my journey in Web3 started in 2013 after seeing the first big jump on Bitcoin from, I think it was like $100, and it went up to 1,000 in 2 months. And I thought, wow, this is something. And then I started investing specifically in Bitcoin for a few years to see where this digital currency would go. And in 2016, I started building GPU mining rigs, and I kept doing that for several years until more Web3 things showed up in the market. NFTs, NFT games, DAOs, the metaverse. Then that's when I realized that all that crazy stuff that I learned in the past helped me to navigate better in the Web3 space and find more crazy people like me. And that's why I'm here today.
She also has an amazing designed NFT collection that she doesn't really show or tell many people, but it's really, really good work.
It's a secret.
You're very talented, miss.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're super excited to have Lillian on here. No, it's been like definitely a real pleasure. But yeah, I mean, getting into this like entertainment and NFT content, right? You know, we're all getting here to kind of to see how we're going to change, how we're going to modify or, you know, redesign ourselves. And it's definitely been really cool to see what Cass has been building with their hardware. They've been implementing something a little more infrastructure that's actually hardware based, which I think is actually a really cool leap to show that we're, you know, NFTs are actually starting to do something that you can see a consumer consuming, right? You know, there's a lot of NFT projects. It's hard to know what the product is, but with these guys, it seems like they're starting to innovate with how we're going to actually bring regular people into the Web3 world. And I think that's a lot of what like the entertainment and, you know, NFT space is about, is like, how do we actually bring the regular customer, right? Like the normal person into this greater space, right? And obviously like storytelling and movies are a huge thing. But I definitely like to just kind of ask the panel, what do you see as being like other ways of onboarding, normal people into a Web3 entertainment space? Yeah.
Hey, y'all, I'm back. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Garrett, for picking up. And I love the direction you're going around storytelling and content. I'm wondering, it would be cool, I think, a little bit, because we've touched on like people's projects, right? From a very, very high level, right? Like, let's do like a little bit of a round robin just with our speakers first to understand what you all are working on. And then that'll help us understand sort of the positioning of each of you, what it is that you're bringing to the table. So as we start to look at exploring storytelling, content generation, opportunities, challenges, onboarding, then our audience here and on our recording like has a record of like, you know what I mean? Like make it like there's, you guys are all awesome. So let's hear what you do and sort of dox yourselves. You are legitimately deserve to be here. And then I love from there, we'll jump off on Garrett's like amazing transition kind of into the deeper content. Does that sound good for everybody? Do it.
Absolutely.
It's very much a popcorn style, y'all. So just unmute and talk.
Well, I'll reverse engineer then, because I thought that was a really cool handoff. I wish I could take credit for being a hardware developer, but I'm more on the concept side, the strategy, and the community side. But I think you're kind of nailing the point of everybody else. I think at one point, being in Web3, we felt really ostracized, right? We're the creators that no one really understands. You know, no one really gets the space. And I think the tables have turned where Web 2 is a little bit ostracized. So you see them trying to get in, trying to create positions and get their footing. And, in my time, I've seen a lot of flops and some successes. And so the power is really in our hands right now as creators, developers, community builders. So it will be an interesting topic to go deeper into the specs and the tech of this and the idea. But the broad stroke is really, how do we not ostracize anyone, right? How do we consume entertainment in all web versions, 1, 2, 3 to 5? And so just being on the forefront of challenging that idea and not thinking so linearly is something that's really exciting for me personally. So yeah, that's kind of my take and my thought on building here.
And Cass, I'm kind of interested, like, how did the team of your project come together? Like, did the leaders of the team like know each other prior? I'm curious just to understand a little bit about the process of like how you came to work with the group you work with.
Yeah, I'll start with my connection to Steven, and then I'll pass the mic to Steven to talk about the connection to the rest of the team. So my connection to Steven was, prior to knowing him, I was educating and onboarding in the Web3 space. A lot of you folks know me from running Clubhouse rooms and Twitter spaces where I was talking about NFTs as kind of the tool into this uncomfortable yet comfortable conversation we had to have in terms of our own IP and our own names and our own brands. So I was teaching on that type of spectrum. How I met Steven was literally through a DM on Twitter. We kind of booked some time together to talk about a platform he came up with that was a little bit more about scripts on the blockchain, with all his extensive experience in in the film industry, right? And kind of seeing, okay, how can I connect this to Web3 and really help these types of creators, script writers, people that are below the line, they say, in production and film, and not just, the same few people above the line and the same few artists and actors, etc. And so that's, part of some of his idea, which we then, pivoted and shifted to IP that already exists on the blockchain and looking at creators that are here. And so, yeah, that's how we met. We just had a really good conversation. He brought me on as head of community. And then there's many other pieces to the team, and it started to grow and grow. So that's like me from a year ago with Steven, but Steven has some prior info of there, and all the way up to present date where we are now. So yeah, I'll pass it there. That's how we met each other.
Thanks, Kaz, for that. That was great. It's been a real pleasure working with you over the year. So on our end at Feature, our original thesis was how do we bring traditional entertainment to Web3, really trying to attack a lot of the problems and pain points that creators have in the existing space. Myself being one of them who had been in the industry for over 15 years and had been afforded a lot of relationships just through my experience and connections. But ultimately, I thought of a lot about the people that were just starting in today's era, which is a very difficult time as, more of the industry becomes more black box. There's a lot more, less risk being taken on original intellectual property. And so the original thesis was how do we bring scripts and intellectual property to the blockchain? But what we quickly realized, even though we had the support of the WGA and some other guilds, was that um, the normal Hollywood side, the actual part that actually acquires these IPs, was still far behind in terms of adopting Web3. So we originally pivoted to create the world's first intellectual property marketplace that's all Web3 native. So if you have NFTs or assets that have rights associated, you would be able to sell those rights, commercial, derivative, film, television, master licenses as well. Um, and so our first client was Coinbase with BAYC on the DGen trilogy, and it proved out that there will be novel applications of licensing on blockchain. But if you think of Feature as a whole in a company, you have IP creation, so Feature originals, creators, brands, things that we incubate on Web3. And then you think about the second part, which is how do we monetize that from a licensing perspective? And then the third, and what we're most excited about, which is solving the biggest pain point for probably creators out there in general, but specifically for Web3, which is distribution. So currently the distribution methods are, back to Web2 solutions. There are some explorations of token gated viewing, but the whole ethos is how do we move Web3 to the couch or the living room? and let the technology disappear. And as an audience, get back to what we most care about. Because in the end, we don't care if it's a community driven project. We don't care if it was funded through Web3. If the story sucks, it sucks. So, like, we need to get back to that place and really building and supporting creators from all over the world. And so that's why the box and the initiative is so important for us, is to democratize that technology, the global public infrastructure of blockchain as a distribution method for creators all over.
Um, I can jump in for a second just to follow up on that point, because I think there's a lot of value to what was just said. I mean, the first thing is that age-old expression, content is king. That applies everywhere, right? And I think about Web 2, and I think about some of the content that got launched on Web 2 and that sort of was elevated or picked up by and ended up on major streamers. There's that show High Maintenance, for example, that I guess it's still on HBO, but that started out as a Web 2 production. And I think the opportunity right now is that with these walled gardens, with the way that the business is structured, it's become harder and harder and harder to actually sell content. It's really very difficult, and it's incredibly difficult if you don't have a major star attached, if you don't have some kind of attachment that is significant enough to move the needle at the Apple televisions of the world or Amazon, so on and so forth. So I actually think that there's opportunity. I think there's a lot of opportunity because there's no shortage of talent out there. So to sort of hit on what was said before, there are two things. One is distribution, and the other is the complexity of Web3, which is still really complicated. And I think we have to figure out a way to, make it seamless, like turning on an on-off switch, like turning on your television. And I think until that happens, it's going to be hard to find the kind of massive adoption you need to make these projects to basically define a business model that works, which I think is the thing that everyone is trying to discover right now.
So, Daniel, when you say until there's a method for mass adoption, like what in very
sure.
like
Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you an
10?
example.
Cool.
Sure. Well, the best thing that I can do, so to give you an example of what happened. I remember that there were these furious negotiations between the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild, all these guilds, over ownership and profit distribution for content created for the web, obviously Web 2, right? And this goes back about 12 years ago. And everyone was negotiating these deals when no one had any idea actually how it was going to work. And as it turned out, what they had tried to conceive, or the deals that they made with sort of nothing but ether in the air, right? That actually none of that came to be. What happened was streaming. What happened was Netflix. Netflix was the first one out there, and it created this streaming technology. And then everybody eventually followed suit. And now that is the thing that's leading the industry, right? And so a large part of traditional television, network television, moved over to that. But also, this coincided with kind of the downward spiral of the mid-budget movie business. What used to be, say, a 20 to, let's say, $100 million movie, those don't get made anymore. And so that business moved over to streaming. And so it was the confluence of two separate events: the death of the mid-level, of the mid-range budget movie business, and this experiment that Netflix had. And so it's a little hard to predict what exactly it would be that will fill that space, because no one predicted what it would be. It just sort of happened. But I suppose one way to look at it would be you could put together some kind of consortium of creators, right? And more or less form your own sort of Web3 streaming. I don't know enough probably about the technology to speak with any kind of intelligence about this, other than these two things that have to come together, much like it did with Netflix and the movie business, right? In that you have a viable plan for Web3 that makes the adoption of it plausible, and for a way for people that aren't into tech to get it on to their television screen, right? And then I believe you could find a way to to monetize it, and I think actually the process of finding content for it would be the easiest of all those. It's how you build the infrastructure. But I'm sure there are people here that can comment on that know more about that aspect of Web3 than I do.
Oh, I love that. I'm definitely want to dig down a little bit more. You like had a couple of like very, very poignant statements there that I want to make sure that we don't get missed. And I also want to make sure that Anthony, you kind of mentioned that you were working on a project and getting ready to launch stuff. Would love to hear what you're working on. And then also Lillian, understand from your perspective now, coming from well, you come from two sides, right? So one, you come from the corporate side, and then two, from the side as a creator and an artist and stuff yourself. So I want to kind of hear your perspective on like your positioning around like the difference between your own stuff and like when it's corporate and what those sort of like goals are. So Anthony, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, sure. It's just really interesting topic. Just listening to Daniel and Steven about how this Web3 blockchain technology could really help, you know, artists or people behind the line, the invisible people in the industry and entertainment. And I've been doing this for like 22 years now. 9 years of it was at Marvel, and sometimes when you would do like an iconic character and it's out there, but I have no equity in it at all. So when I found out about the NFTs and how you could have forever royalties, 10% or whatever you could put in there, I think that's what really made me feel like, hey, I think I have to jump on this technology before it's too late or something, because we were kind of talking about that within Marvel, and there's stuff I can't talk about, of course, but it was just maybe a bit slow. So it's not the only reason why I end up leaving. It's because I got funding to develop some of my shows, and I actually started a production company recently, which is it's been exciting. I've been gone from Marvel for like 8 months, and Creature Chronicles actually is the project I was working on. I have one of my coworkers here listening in. Um, you see that sign, the Creature Chronicle, that little black hole kind of symbol. Uh, um, but um, but yeah, aside from that, I was thinking more and more like, you know, people that do voices, they have royalties. People that act, they have royalties, but the artists that are working in there don't have any. And I was just thinking how maybe I was talking to another artist about this too, Carlo Ortiz, and we were thinking, is there a way to do like a union on the blockchain so that all the artists that are working on different films could actually when you get the royalties, part of the royalties go into a like retirement fund for everyone, almost like how unions work, but in the blockchain. So even to the point where you're doing artwork for a big company, I don't know if this is possible, but this is just me dreaming. So you do artwork for a major studio, and whenever they use it, you could get paid through the blockchain, if that's even a possibility. But that could be awesome.
You
Um,
know, Anthony, just speak to this because I don't know how many people know about it. So in the conventional or traditional world of television, I'll say I can't really speak too much to motion pictures because I had limited experience in that. But you know, writers, directors, actors, all of those artists, they do receive sort of the equivalent of a royalty, right? You know that they
Yes.
receive
Yeah.
residuals,
Yes.
right? And also creators, you know, people who create new shows, direct new shows, they do receive royalties. I think those things are really come down to a question of sort of the economic viability of the medium. But I think what tends to happen is that opportunity follows technology. And I'll give you an example of that goes back even further. So for those of you who may not remember, but television used to be a big square box, right? Anywhere from like a 13-inch TV to a 27-inch TV with a big cathode ray tube, right? And television was always shot at a particular budget because people were watching on a 23, 27-inch screen. What changed everything, what made a show like Game of Thrones possible, you know, in other words, a television with feature quality production value, was the introduction of flat screen TVs. And first, that they were really expensive, right? Because technology has a way of becoming deflationary, right? So flat screen TVs, they started out, they were like plasma screens, $20,000. And now you can buy them at Best Buy for $500. And what that afforded was these big screens in people's homes that meant that the producers, the studios, the content providers now felt that their edge, the way that they could grab an audience, was to invest real money for this sort of big production value content. So in that case, it was content following the technology. You can find a similar situation here, that if we can find a way to make Web3 increase the adoption of it, and I do believe that NFTs are an important component of this too, because they could be used for raising funds to producing content for Web3, right? That is, in really, I guess, sort of in the essence of decentralization. That and content will follow. So I think, and I could be wrong, being that I'm probably the least technical person in this room, but that if we can solve the problem of that leads to adoption and distribution, I think the other things will follow. I'm curious what everybody else thinks about that.
Well, I'd like to point out really quick, just because, and I'll make it short, but that transition, like you were talking about traditional film, right? Just because of my probably just like my age and just like the technology wave that I went through, right? It was only like a 20-year gap between really large cameras that required a roll of film and digital video, right? And so there was like this huge leap in the cost, like the overhead to bring in that level of production. Actually, I'm an audio engineer, so it cracks me up because like when I went to college for audio production, it was like this like $200,000 console, and now it's like a $10,000 interface, right? It's like it's a lot cheaper to get the hardware, but I think that is actually hand in hand. I think that's exactly what we're dealing with, where like blockchain technology is bringing in a new level of ease, right? It's like it's actually gonna bring another level of where now we can make DAOs, or we can fund a film through an NFT project, or we can develop a new piece of hardware that bridges the gap, right? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just thought that what you said, Daniel, was worth highlighting there, right?
No,
Yeah.
you're 100% right, Garrett. I mean, look at all the music that is now available. I mean, I won't get into the morality of their business model, Spotify, right? But look at all the music that is now available when people can actually record it in their homes or home studios, where 20 years ago the only option to was to release an album, a CD. You had to go into a professional studio where they had, $750,000, $1 million worth of equipment. The only people that could afford to do that were the record labels, and they had you buy the proverbial short hairs. Um, I think we see it everywhere that with the advance of technology, it opens the door for people that weren't invited in the door before. That's what's exciting about this. Um, anyway,
I
sorry.
love it. You got so passionate there. That was amazing.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. And I know that we've had some people come up on stage, and I'm super excited. Petra, I know you have your hand up, and I want to hear from you. And I also want to make sure that we give Lillian the opportunity to chime in. Lillian, did you want to chime in? Anything here you would like to add or talk about from your perspective of this?
Sure. I mean, I would say I'm still stuck in GPU mining, which is not related to anything. But I only like the hardware aspect of it, and today is not really a good way to make profit from it. But I recently got interested in NFTs and DAOs, where I can explore more of my creativity and make my own artwork. So I'm more into I would say I'm an NFT creator. So my illustrations style falls into fantasy and realism, similar to what you see in trading card games like Magic the Gathering or fantasy books and novels, RPGs in general. And it's really hard to make a living off that style. Usually artists like me work with temporary contracts as a freelancer, commission artworks, etc. But I believe that NFTs came and fixed the issue of the financial stability, and now I can actually focus on my personal art instead of only working for clients making what they need just to pay the bills. Now, when someone buys my NFTs, I don't see it as a payment. To me, I think it's a token of appreciation, like a reward. I'm making art for people that actually like my work, and I think that's what NFTs are about.
I just want to
Mm,
say, like, I saw
love
Steven unmute a couple times, but didn't get a chance to talk. So I don't know if he had something he wanted to say before we let Petra, who's patiently been waiting, to speak.
Yeah, I was just going to contribute to some of the earlier points. There's so many great points that are being made here. Um, but when we're talking about, architectural innovation, as one of the guys at the company refers to what's happening right now, if you think about, streaming or, home entertainment, these are things that radically change an industry. And we believe that blockchain is paramount to the future of entertainment, and we are at the forefront of this architectural innovation. But part of that, in one of the comments that was brought up, I think was a really good point, which was about unionization, which is ultimately power in numbers and trying to bring fairness and recognition to the people that participate in something or help build something at a very fundamental layer. And so what we're excited about from blockchain-based distribution is being able to build those types of smart contracts that not only reward the creators more equitably, but the downstream, or what we call in the industry CAMA agreements, waterfalls, that can impact the artist as well. So right now there's a creative supply crunch where there's a lack of CG artists fundamentally and studios that can provide these types of, premium quality services. And so, these studios are outbidding each other for the talent by, six figures, only to not leverage them in a way that really fulfills them as creators or artists, but just to secure that type of talent. So what we're excited to offer at Feature is with our Feature Originals is that type of waterfall that does give them profit participation um, perpetually for life, where this is like an actual asset that you participated in creating, hopefully the next blockbuster IP, and you will be rewarded for that for as long as, your estate goes on. And we think that's the way that we really win the war with creators and the artists that see the value of their creations on a day-to-day basis when they're a part of these massive IPs. And but they just take a check, and for a long time they were drilled down in what their the competitive wages. And so that's really one of the exciting parts about this, and I just wanted to throw that point in.
And Steven,
Ooh.
I
No,
was at
yeah.
Rhythm and Hues when when they went down, and that's the saddest part, when companies like try to undercut each other, and then and then you have these bigger companies that give like, oh, we need 500 shots, and then you hire up to the people you need, and all of a sudden, no, we don't need that much anymore, and then but they haven't paid yet, and there's really some sad stuff that happened. And when the director of Life of Pi got the award, he didn't even mention the hard work that Rhythm and Hughes guys. So anyway, I totally agree with you, Steven.
Yeah, this has been such an amazing chat, and I'm glad that we get to keep going. And we already have at the halfway point. We bring audience members up, and so we've already got folks up here. And so I would love to hear Petra. You have been waiting and waiting, and then it is
Thank you.
open mic. Okay.
Oh, Mike. Okay. Thank you. Actually, I guess I do want to hear more from some of the other folks, so I'm going to try and keep it short. But I wanted to hear from Steven, especially because you brought up the CAMA agreements, because you're looking at the device layer, layer zero, which is critical, I think, and because we spoke so much about intellectual property rights, community, and the differences between Web 2 and Web 3 and the barriers to adoption. So, in my opinion, Web 2 has become the mall, my friends. This is our problem in general. And when we talk about community, we need to recognize that community goes beyond the association of individuals in some kind of communal endeavor or idea or belief, but actually physically to the benefits and the resources and the infrastructure that tie us all together. To me, community is the fire department, it's the transportation department, it's the water processing plants. It's all of these things that make sure that everything is safe and secure for us. And so it's really important that when we're talking about building in Web3, that um, we focus on, I think the key here is to remember sovereignty is like one of the most important parts of the blockchain movement. And I don't want to sound like a Bitcoin maximalist or anything like that, but um, I want to ask particularly Stephen how your device is promoting sovereignty. I'm wondering if you've ever heard of anything like DApp node, and if you're able if your devices are intended to be able to run for example, an RPC endpoint on a blockchain. And then also, we've got to be sustainable. So I'm wondering, um, in what ways are you leveraging sustainable technologies with your device? And thank you.
Wow, coming out with the the great questions. I love it. Thank you for that. And a part of the thing that excites me the most about blockchain is autonomy and, sovereignty. I think the beauty of being a creator is the freedom in the blank canvas. And the box ultimately in a picture perfect world, it moves more to a self-sustaining um, fundamental layer for distribution where proceeds go from feature into a creator DAO, which then the community itself can pick the projects that they want to have, brought to distribution or funded through that mechanism. And that's more along the lines of a protocol. So if you look at the sequencing of how we're building this, the founder's pass is really, you get to be a part of it from layer zero, And with our launch partners, we have 30 launch partners at this point, from a wide range of Oscar winners to up and comers to game studios, even Michelin star chefs. And each of them are exploring novel applications of how to leverage blockchain to get more of that autonomy and that sovereignty from their individual industries. And so that will be the fundamental rails that will ultimately open up to like as an SDK, as you can imagine, for like a DApp store or an iOS app store that any creator can build their own DApp, whether that's a project based or them as themselves as a creator, and monetize that how they feel best fit. So we are blockchain agnostic, we are currency agnostic. We'll take credit card. We have a novel settlement layer. But that's really the idea, is that you build what best serves for your community and how your creative vision works. So if you want to build an educational program for children that rewards them with an in-game currency to teach them about finances at a young age or blockchain technologies, go for it. But that's really the objective from my side. I don't want to be a centralized solution. I think that if we're leveraging global public infrastructure, which is what I call, Ethereum or blockchain, or any blockchains that are decentralized, then we should all be heading toward that type of a protocol. So I think that hopefully answered your first question. In regards to sustainability, obviously this is something that's paramount to myself and Feature. I think that, as the technology continues to evolve, we'll be seeing more solutions there. Um, we'll obviously be carbon offsetting and continuing to look at ways to improve its sustainability. One factor that we are really excited about, which was brought up by one of our advisors at Consensus Mesh, was the idea of idle mining. So while your machine is, you know, off, you can leverage it to be performing transcoding services or other sorts of node applications that, if you can imagine a box, growing to a million users by the end of next year, those are a lot of GPUs that are sitting there. So how can we leverage that as a community? How can we leverage that as an individual? Whether that's subsidizing the cost of the box for you and continual upgrades, subsidizing maybe your subscriptions to your existing streaming services, or what if that's under, DAO-based initiatives that, are proposals that people put up of like, how can we leverage this to better the world? Um, so these are the types of things that we're thinking. We don't have everything solved because obviously this is all at the forefront, but this is a very exciting period for us.
Yeah, super exciting. And Cass, did you have a build? Like, I want to keep the ball rolling. I know you had your hand up, so before I start blabbing, you want to go?
Yeah, I'll chime in on this. And I think the question is on point, and I think it's kind of funny that Daniel brought up these two major points. And this is the first time we're all talking about it. And it's just an affirmation that that's exactly the pain points we're trying to solve at Feature. So it's really, really actually quite nice to hear that from Daniel's experience, saying, this is what I see from all of my experience. And then Feature saying, this is what we're trying to solve. And I think Petra's question was, right on point as well. And I kind of wanted to do my next point in regards to the creators and the artists in the space. Like, when Anthony was talking about switching from MCU over to his own production and the feeling of that autonomy, saying, I've been building head down for the last 8 months, and what that feels like to have that uncomfortable but comfortable conversation with ourselves where we're not, relying on a brand name to kind of be our own artists. And I think I just want to say I'm really proud of that too, first off. Same for Lillian, that's been kind of working on both sides, the corporate side and now this really high level autonomy side. And like, besides, you talked about secondary sales, Anthony, and, royalties and things like that, which are not so great in the Web2 space. And I'd say maybe improved a little in the web space. But let's talk about the primary sale, even having the seat at the table, right? And having that discovery mode of people seeing your work beyond if you're getting paid royalties of how many times they're trading it. Maybe that's once or twice, with some big collections. Maybe if you get really up there, someone famous owns it. But what about the primary sale? Just getting out there. And so I think keeping that in mind as we build feature and the people we're creating content with and the diversity of that content, it's like when you go to a restaurant, if you only have 4 options on there, that's all you got. But if you have a bunch of different high level options, you're going to come there more often. And so, as Stephen mentioned, being at the forefront of something, you have to do it kind of with an open mind to the people that are in, your left and your right, and saying who can come in and create and make this a spot for people that want to build upon, that want to put dapps on, that want to use their native currency on, that want to put their content on. And just thinking about it from more of a, or less of an entry barrier for content creators, and not just that secondary sale, but that primary sale. So that's just what I wanted to put out there, and also encourage creators to think about. Don't get too caught in the weeds of how the tech can be on this deeper level. Think about even that discovery phase, and being a first mover in that sense.
Thanks so much, Cass. Thanks for hanging in there too. And Gary, I know you had your hand up there for a while. You took it down, then you put it up, and then you took it down. Are you still available to jump in? Because I'd love to hear from you.
I'm here. I'm here. I was just a little inspired by Daniel and what he said about technology or opportunity following technology. I've been a gamer for a really long time, and in the gaming industry, you really see technology advancing the entire industry, from developers to the technology being used as far as the software being developed. And it's amazing how the network effects happen. It's amazing how new tech trickles down into better consumer experiences. It's like, I know that just this weekend, me and my brother were playing some VR games. We were playing Half-Life Alyx, and he grew up playing Half-Life on the PC, which was one of the first PC games out. And now he got to experience it in VR and kind of live it out. He just being there with him, I think it was amazing. I felt like the guy in the chair. I was putting in the cheats and stuff for him as he was playing. It was awesome.
No, I was definitely inspired by what Daniel said about technology. And the other point he brought up was to the point where it's kind of an on and off switch, right? And we're not thinking so hard. What does, blockchain this mean and that, and all these bigger words that most of us, maybe in this smaller Web3 bubble, understand, but like the masses don't. And if you think about it from just a hardware perspective of screens, right? Not everyone owns a Lago screen or a Vellum screen, or some of these names you might have not even heard yet, a WIM screen, a WIM digital canvas. And that's a lot harder to build, is a whole new television. But having something that you could plug in via HDMI cord to your existing TV that you buy at Costco or you already own is a game changer. And the tech evolution doesn't have to be, every single piece of tech, right? I don't go and upgrade my radio because now I have the radio on my phone. I don't go and buy a new boombox, right? I can just stream it. And so it's like we don't have to upgrade all of our TVs. So yeah, I think that's a cool way to tackle it. And again, I was inspired too, because it's the same things we think about at Feature, and Daniel kind of laid it out quite nicely, I'd say.
Right, and I think with blockchain tech, there needs to be a lot of backwards compatibility. There needs to be a lot of bridging back to what people are already on and what people are already used to, because it's going to be really hard to break those habits for people. But at the same time, there is a way to still have that technological revolution in the backgrounds, just maybe not right in front of people's faces, right?
Exactly.
I think you're right, and I wonder if, again, our entry into this, because if you think of a technology that's been adapted incredibly quickly, right? It's NFTs. I mean, there are just starting to be um, uh, uh, corporations, right? TradFi that's investing in Bitcoin. Uh, Most people probably still don't know what it is. Most people have no idea what crypto is or how it works, or how blockchain works. But almost everybody's heard of an NFT at this point, and it's as if these the bigger corporations, whether they are very traditional and very conservative, um, uh, you know, be it whether it's the movie business or whether it's some other companies that are using it for marketing campaigns. It feels to me like somehow the way in is through that, both in terms of the economic side, right, of being able to finance production, finance the infrastructure of these sort of these Web3. I don't know what to call it. Web3 streaming, Web3 network, Web3 broadcast, what have you, right? Maybe that's where the opportunity lays. I'm far from smart enough to figure out where you go from there, but maybe that's the sort of confluence of two events that we need.
I would also like to thank you so much for everybody's contribution. And I also want to give those of you on stage a chance to ask each other some questions if you'd like to drill down any more. And of course, if you are down in the audience and would like to come up and share, please just raise your hand. We'd love to hear from you if you would like to comment, talk about something that you're working on that's related, or ask any questions. And I would like to invite whoever is hosting the glimmering down there in the audience to come up and introduce the project and the giveaway that we will give away coming up in at the end of the show here just soon. And if there is just a listener down there and no one, will make a bunch of stuff. No, I'm just kidding. We'll take care of it.
I'm sure that someone down there has some questions. And so I guess I'll just ask a very basic question, right? Stephen, what is the origin story of Feature? Like, how did you come up with it? And we all know the why. Like, what was the particular moment that maybe the idea sparked in your head? I would like to know the how.
In particular to feature the actual device.
Yes, yes, please.
So yeah, feature's been around for a year and a half. And if you think about each of the sectors that we were trying to attack, first was, IP creation on blockchain. Then how do you monetize that? Not just as feature as an institution, but provide rails for people to monetize the underlying asset of their NFT. So that's the intellectual property marketplace that we built. And then the last being distribution. And so the thesis around distribution was I just had this epiphany that if you really have a decentralized computer that's out there, which is what the Ethereum network is, um, that's the best global distribution that you could ever have. And it's not really owned by anybody. And so if you're able to build into that and provide the rails for creators to deploy their own creation, if you get enough adoption, whether that's subsidizing in emerging economies where they can leapfrog existing technologies, I believe that you win in this industry with a bottom up approach. Everything that I've seen that's kind of been top down hasn't really hit. And I think it's us as individuals that come together and recognize that there has to be a better way. So that's kind of the overall. But then to get more specific, I started looking at, display technologies that were blockchain enabled. And there's a reason why Apple didn't make their own Apple TV. They just made the box that you plug in, because nobody really wants to be in the ever evolving business of display technologies. Those are going to continue to evolve. And if you look at the price points now, you can get one at Costco for like $200. So I wanted to find a small form factor. The box is about 4 inches by 4 inches, that I could drill down the price point from an OEM perspective to try to go after a sweet spot of the OTT market. And the GPU capabilities have gotten so good that you can run some pretty great gaming experiences on our device. Um, and so right now the Founders Edition is for sale, which actually tomorrow will be for sale. And that comes with a whole bunch of stuff, and you're just a part of it from the get-go. So we really want to reward those that go on the journey with us. But the idea is for the general consumer, like if we hit a price point of $100, this is something from a value proposition that if you have any NFTs or digital collectibles, you'll be able to view them on any screen in your house. So you can blockchain enable that. And then that's kind of the Trojan horse to bring in new experiences. So that's the general thesis of how the box kind of came to, as opposed to going out specifically for blockchain enabled displays.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm always interested on the how, like the origin story. The why is sometimes obvious, and I know Gary has his hand up. But Gary, yeah, go ahead, my friend.
Cool, thanks. Just a quick question. In regards to the feature, uh, what steps did you take to kind of overcome those supply chain shortage issues with graphics cards, and what kind of promises have you made in terms of gaming latency? Because I know that was probably the biggest issue with the launch of Stadia and a few other, major cloud gaming devices. So I was just curious as to how you approach that problem.
I have got to say, the questions in this room have been the best that I've had yet. We had an AMA today, and they were good, but these are really great. So I really appreciate everybody coming in with their wide backgrounds here. Um, so the first question about supply chain. So I'm a tinkerer, right? Like when I worked on a lot of the movies that I did, I was part of like the fundamental team that used hardware to deploy new graphics technology. So things like on the Matrix 2 and 3, we did a lot of optical recognition work. So I've always kind of pushed technology to where it could go, where it couldn't go, what's available. And um, fortunately, we have an amazing tech partner. Their name is PCH. They did Beats by Dre. They did the Apple accessories for many years, and then they built the Shenzhen factory for Apple. And they're really the only reason that we could probably deploy this on scale because of their experience. And so my thesis was I wanted to use a sum of OEM parts. For those that don't know, the Apple TV is actually an iPhone 10 chipset that they just repurposed into a box, and it looks great. Um, but our idea was let's use ARM processors so we could have a small form factor and a GPU that kills where Apple's at, and make sure that it's deliverable from an OEM perspective. So no custom PCB boards or anything like that. We just really leveraging the software side to deploy something novel. Now, future forward, shall the box be, successful, we want to go after stronger GPU capabilities, and part of that will come out of a relationship with NVIDIA, as we all know that they really push what's capable from their chipsets. So this isn't a way to compete necessarily with a PlayStation 5, as that's very specific for hardcore gaming. But this is a way that we can enable 3D experiences, games, to a certain fidelity. And because the box is Linux, we're able to deploy Unreal Engine 5 on it as well.
Could I ask you what the nanometer spec of the GPU will be?
I can share that information with you. I can DM you that. I'd have to pull it up exactly, but yeah,
Okay,
happy to
cool.
share that information with you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I personally actually would like to ask Anthony the same question. Like, I know the why. We all now know the why you got into NFTs, but how did you come up with Creature Chronicles? And for those not familiar, do you want to tell them?
Oh, yeah, Creature Chronicles is my NFT collection that we just actually opened our Discord a couple of days ago, and I'm backed by Dolphin Entertainment. So I was able to, my manager was able to talk to them, and we wanted to make this as an animated series first, but they wanted to try it to I guess release it to the world as an NFT, to see how I guess it could be a proof of concept idea to see how many people would like it, and the other idea of maybe that could help raise the funds to make the pilot series. So that's something we're trying out. But it's really exciting that I'm able to do something that I'm creating on my own, and um, yeah. So that's and it took like a few months of 8 months of kind of trying to put this together and find the right PFP project look for it. But yeah, things are coming along, and our first day of opening, we did this grow. We got like 2,200 or so people, so things seem to be going well. Uh, did that answer your question? Sorry, it's
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and I want to make sure that we give Petra a chance
yeah.
also to build and chime in because I know Petra has been waiting.
Just go ahead, Petra.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Um, so again, I'm sorry, and a question for Steve. Um, since we've kind of gotten into some depth, um, you mentioned as well, in Idle, doing like passive mining for example, transcoding. And I know you said you're blockchain agnostic to a large degree, but there's a lot of different ways to handle uh, both that and persistence and edge. So, in terms of media transport layers, to what degree are you utilizing decentralized technologies for MUX, for transcoding, for edge, and for persistent storage? Yeah. And are you willing to say like if those are in-house products or an outhouse or a third-party product that you might be engaging decentralized or otherwise?
Petra, you are hitting I think you should deserve an award for the best questions. I'm very, very excited by these. So I think, I mean, look, for those that may be worth kind of just touching upon what's being asked. Um, Basically, with decentralization, we want that processing to happen through many nodes so that it's decentralized. Nobody can control it. The same goes for decentralized storage. So how do we store these master assets or these video files or these game files in a way that is global and decentralized? And so part of the solution from where we are at with our vantage point is currently for geographic optimization, there really isn't a solution yet from a decentralized storage streaming technology, but that's going to come as we get more adoption. So you could look at our solution as a cross kind of a halfway juncture, Web 2.5, and the idea that you have master assets that are stored in decentralized storage, and then you have a mirror version of that that's based off of a Spera type delivery system that allows for real global scale and optimization. There are a lot of companies that we're speaking to, like LivePeer, that really handle real-time transcoding, and that's more for real-time streaming in a decentralized way. But the idle processing, this is just something that idle mining is something that we want to explore. We think there are a lot of novel use cases, things like Helix, and um, there's another one called Pollen. There's a bunch that are being developed, and we would, want to be open to exploring how to use the GPU that's free to be able to mine resources during that time. Now, that could also be deployed toward our own network in terms of storage, et cetera. But at this current juncture, in terms of the streaming distribution side for scale, we're leveraging a 2.5 solution, but still keeping the ethos of the decentralized content master files being decentralized. Hope that answered your question.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, you know what always happens in this space is that I like know people and I'm always like so impressed by them and their knowledge and what they know, and then it just never stops. Like I even lose track of what the hell's going on around here, but it's fabulous. So we've got about 15 minutes left, and we do have a good giveaway. I'm not sure who's on the glimmering, but if whoever it is, they're sleeping, so we will harass them tomorrow. However, what I do find interesting is that I am seeing some baboons in the audience. So myself, Gary, underwater world underworld, sorry, and of course DM David. So we've got quite a few baboons down there in the audience, and tonight we do have a NFT giveaway for a bastard baboon. And since we've got some folks here, even up here on stage, we've got Gary and Petra. Would y'all, as diehard community members, like to tell everybody else what the project's about for the giveaway? You don't have to talk about the giveaway, but just about what the project.
Sure, yeah. Or unless Petra, you want to go ahead? Go ahead, Petra. That's all you.
We're flinging it. The goblins can stick it. We had enough. We're not going to take it anymore.
We're not gonna take it.
These baboons are done. So baboons were dreamed up by Stephen Rodney McFarlane, who is the artist creating the Glimmering campaign, and they are awesome. And I really can't sing their praises enough. Great game developer, but also an experienced professional in organized play. And so Bastard Baboons are part of that organized play infrastructure that Gripner is building in the Glimmering campaign. And I'm actually playing a session of their one-shot adventure on Friday, although it's filled up. Sorry, you're going to have to schedule on their new scheduling software, which we got to preview today and will be happening again on Thursday.
This is so interesting. I work there and I didn't even know that. Great news. Thanks for the memorandum.
Thank you. And yeah, so the giveaway is related to these bastard baboons and getting on the pre-mint lists for Roll to Play for the Glimmering campaign and their mints, which is coming up soon, which will give you access to schedule on their amazing blockchain. I think it's platform at this point, not quite protocol, but headed towards protocol in the roadmap, I believe.
Yay! So, if you would please go up to the top, you can see a pinned tweet about the glimmering and go ahead and follow along. Also, at the top, you will be able to see the Discord, and you can click on that link and join in because, as Petra mentioned, games are full, but we open them up all the time, and that is a good way to get on the schedule. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to go ahead and let those of you down in the audience that have a last minute question to go ahead and come on up, and or the rest of you to keep chatting, and then we will announce a winner as we close the show in just a little under 10 minutes.
We also have pinned up to the top the ISA Twitter and our Discord. And if you want to go ahead and follow our ISA Twitter, we'd appreciate that. Come on up. We're doing a lot of great stuff, and we're very much progressive in trying to guide the the Web 2 companies and even some of the Web 3 companies in the right direction to make sure that we live up to the ethos that well, honestly, Cass and a bunch of others helped to build and influence, and we want to keep that rolling.
And if you're not already, please follow our awesome host, Jacqueline.
Yeah, this has been a really cool chat. Really excited to be here. I think I could talk about this stuff all day. I think that's why we spent 12 hours at a time in Clubhouse doing that. And it's really, really nice to see certain things in fruition and, like you said, kind of guide people. And it's important to have this cross conversation too, because you kind of hear pain points from different angles saying the same thing. And it's pretty fruitful to talk about these things and get down to nuances and details and not just broad strokes of, like Craig said, we kind of know the why, but the next question is how do we do that? How do we do it together? How do we hit, details that Gary's bringing up as a avid gamer and kind of questioning the companies and the people that are building this tech. And so for me, this is very fruitful. This is very like full circle, and very informative. So just really thank you to Craig and Jacqueline and everyone at ISA for hosting us and for bringing amazing creators like Anthony Francisco and Lillian, and also thanks Petra for the laugh that kind of broke my very serious attitude all the time, my very passionate ethos in the space, just saying we're not gonna have it. So that was my first laugh of the day, and I appreciate that. Yeah, this has been really, really cool. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I love it. And what's been like super fun too is that we are always chatting with like super awesome folks, and it's fun to see people come back through and also people go back and check replays. So please remember that ISA hosts a space every Tuesday night from 5 to 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. And then we also host a glimmering space every Thursday from 4 to 5 Pacific Standard Time, as we are fast approaching Genesis launch. And we will be talking a little bit more on Thursday about utility of the baboons and what's next and timeline. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. And Gina, if you are available, could you do our winner selection for the giveaway for the Bastard Baboon NFT? And please make sure that you're following both the Glimmering and ISA. And Gina, if you're not available, then Garrett will be your backup.
I am available, and
Fabulous.
I have a winner right here. And the winner of the Bastard Baboon is Bay or Baie, Baie. So go ahead and make sure you're following ISA, make sure you're following the Glimmering, follow Jax, follow the speakers, and DM me, and we'll get you set up.
Yay! Would you like to come on stage and give a speech? An acceptance speech? You are welcome to join us on stage. Happy to have you part of the community. We will also look forward to seeing you in Discord, where you will be able to learn more about the utility of your Bastard Baboon and how to stay up to date with all of the cool stuff that's about to happen. So excited for everybody being here. I do want to thank all of you speakers for taking time out of your evening tonight. We will follow up with you and be sending you some snippets and clips and quotes that you can use for your social media. We hope that we will see you back anytime. We are really kind of stuck on the media and entertainment aspect. So we will be here for a while, which, as you all know, covers lots and lots and lots of stuff. So I hope you all have a fabulous night. Tell all your friends to come.
Thanks so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
I see a hand up. Go ahead.
Hi. here is night, so I would say good night to everyone. Um, can you hear me? Can someone hear me? Right?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. I'm gonna ask you if I can get like a little of time to talk about my dial because right now I got rug on a co-host space that I was trusted to have, and right now it's 2 a.m. OTC, and I got like Indians and Nigerians wake up because of me. Can I like do it? I'm asking, you know.
Oh, we would love for you to join us this Thursday. We have the Glimmering Gripner spaces on Thursdays, so just join us. We'll just bring you up on stage.
Okay, I would love that. Do you know the central UTC time? That will be.
It would be 5 o'clock as well, and you said Central Time. 4 o'clock Pacific. So Central, that's 6. East Coast, that's 7. What time zone are you?
AXD, Atlantic time. I don't know.
Atlantic time, so that's like Central Time. So that should be 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay.
It's FYI 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are West Coasters, California.
Can I just follow you?
Perfect.
Thank you for that. I will send you a DM after this. Well, but like I'm really disappointed because we just tell everyone in our servers that if they fucking join this co-host Twitter space, we will giving them 0.03 to everyone, 0.03 sold to everyone just for joining this space, and we wanted to everyone is having it, yeah, it is sad, but I'm really excited about it either way. Thank you, Garrett, for that.
Well, sweet. Yeah, I'm looking forward to more conversations and more questions. And thank you again for having us. I think I'll pop out now and looking forward to the glimmering as well. It sounds really fun, great group of people. Yeah, you guys are bringing the energy. So I love that. And I hope you love what we're doing in Feature as well. And let's definitely just stay connected. These conversations, as I mentioned before, are super important to me, super important for Web3 to kind of be united on some of these pain points. So thanks so much for having me, and my DMs are always open, and I appreciate you guys for considering us.
Great to meet you, Cass. Thanks.
No,
Thanks
thank
for
you for
having us.
everyone for coming. I really hope everybody here got a little something out of this. And if you want to just do the little Brady Bunch dance and just look up, left, right, and down, and just go ahead and follow the people around you, because you never know, someone in this room might be actually a helpful person to network with and the person you're looking for. So I hope that maybe you got a piece of knowledge, and maybe you'll get a connection if you're lucky too. So thank you everyone for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I think Jacqueline is just a hair indisposed at just the moment, so don't worry about her. And we all hope to see you back next week as well. Thursdays, we have the Glimmering and Gaming NFTs if you'd like to join.
I just followed Glimmering, so I can't wait to see what it's about.
Yay. Night, folks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Appreciate your
everybody.
Thank
knowledge.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Cheers, guys.
Appreciate your knowledge, time, and effort. See you
Thank you,
next time.
thank you, thank you.